नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 11, text 49. माते व्यथा मा च विमूढ़ भावो दृष्ट्वा रूपं घोरमिदृन्ममेदं व्यपेतभिः प्रीतमनः पुनस्त्वं तदेव मे रूपमिदं प्रपश्य. Now in the previous verse, Arjuna requested Krishna to show his four-armed form of Narayana. And now in previous verses, in the previous verse, Krishna explained how his universal form is very difficult, even if one studies the Vedas, performs charity and things like that. Only by a pure devotee, when he is bestowed with the divine vision, can see that universal form. And now in this verse, Krishna says, O Arjuna, stop worrying now anymore. This Rupam Ghoram Idrik Mama Idam, having seen this Ugra Rupa of my universal form, you became terrified. So stop being like that. Mate Vyatha. Vyatha means trouble. Do not take trouble. Macha Vimudha Bhavo. Do not be bewildered. Just become free from all fear. Vyapeta Bhihi. And again become pleased in mind. Pritamanaha. And with a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. Rupam idam prapasya. So Krishna showed his universal form to encourage Arjuna when he was uncertain of fighting with his own superiors, Bhishma and Drona. So Krishna showed through his universal form that they are already killed, as well as all the other soldiers. Arjuna clearly saw the Kala form of the Lord where they are being killed. So Prabhupada explains in the purport how Bhishma, why Bhishma and Drona were also killed, particularly Bhishma Dev. It's because of negligence of duty when there was disrobing of Draupadi in the assembly. They should have protested. But because of their negligence of the duty, they were given apt punishment. So, you see here, Krishna can punish even his own devotee if they are neglectful of their duties. Of course, Bhishma Dev was a pure devotee, Mahajana. Why was he neglectful? He was playing the part of a pastime. He was willing to be an instrument in the Lord's play and pass the instruction to the world. How one will be punished if one is on the other end of dharma? It doesn't matter how great you are, how powerful you are. Be ready for punishment if you are on the other end of dharma. So, and then here, like Bhishma Dev was punished for not doing dharma, one may wonder how I will know what is my dharma, what is my duty. Arjuna had a clear instruction by Krishna to fight. That was his duty. So, how will I know what is my duty? Well, Krishna is represented by one's spiritual master. The spiritual master gives duties. But day to day, still, we have so many things that we can't be sure whether they are considered duty or negligence of duty. And for that, we need to understand two principles. One is, as Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kuru nandana bahushaka hi anantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. For one whose intelligence is fixed, they know what to be done. Their goal is one, to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And for one whose intelligence is not fixed on those instructions, they will try to venture into different things. And how will I know whether I am following those instructions? Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam. We have to do what is favorable for Krishna consciousness. If by doing a particular activity, if I am getting closer to Krishna, if my Krishna consciousness is going to increase, then that is considered favorable. Otherwise, it is unfavorable. So, we have to do the best of our ability and move on according to these principles. And be willing to accept Krishna's corrections if we make mistakes. To err is human. We apply our intelligence. This is my understanding of how to follow Krishna and Prabhupada. And this, according to me, will bring me closer to Krishna. And sometimes what we expect may not happen. Krishna will always guide us. But the fact that you are trying to follow the instructions, those act as guardrails. The other thing we can easily understand if we are following the instructions properly or not. Usually, when we are constantly neglecting our spiritual duties, it reflects in our spiritual health, waning of enthusiasm, lack of taste for chanting, lack of taste for devotional service, and so on and so forth. One time, Srila Prabhupada, he flew from Los Angeles to San Francisco. And, in those days, all were budding new centers with new devotees. And as soon as Prabhupada came, morning and evening programs started to happen, and a lot of young people started to come. And Srila Prabhupada, he observed once, dancing in ecstasy is often exhibited to the transcendental pleasure of everyone present. So Prabhupada was witnessing the success of the Sankirtan movement. He had planted the seed, and now the plant of Krishna Bhakti was flowering. So he was witnessing the power of Kirtan to transform the fallen souls. And after that success, Prabhupada was very encouraged. And then the devotees were showing some slides of the center, how they were worshipping. And in between one of the slides, Prabhupada saw a deity of Krishna, Kartamashai. His name was Kartamashai. One picture showed the deity Kartamashai that was originally obtained from an import store, and they placed him in the temple. And they were worshipping regularly, offering him prasadam and so on and so forth. And then Prabhupada, he was viewing the slides when the picture of Kartamashai came. He began to chuckle and he said, "Oh, I think the deity has changed. Uh, Kartamashai had become bluer and plumpier. Has he been painted or anything?" One other devotee asked. But the other devotee said, "No, no, no, they haven't done anything to him." And then Prabhupada said, "No, you have been taking good care of him," saying that the deity is a person. You do the right thing, the right result will come. It will manifest. Krishna reciprocates. when the disciple follows the process carefully, he will see the reciprocation. He will see his own improvement. He will own his own Krishna consciousness. So, and then Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is like the treatment of the diseased soul. So, when we have a disease, we need two things, isn't it? The medicine and the diet. What is the medicine? The medicine was chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the diet is prasadam. Prasadam offered to Krishna, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, from the vegetarian category. And if one follow this program, then that person would be rejuvenated. And if one neglected it, he would relapse. So, in general, this is the formula. If we are following the instructions of the spiritual master, our dharma properly, we'll be rejuvenated. Just like a hungry man. So, this can be a very easy example to understand. Somebody might ask, several times people ask, so what is the sign that we are actually progressing in our spirituality? For that, Prabhupada said, nobody needs to give any certificate. You can self certify. How? Just like a hungry man self certifies whether his hunger is removed after eating good food, isn't it? Nobody needs to tell him, hey, whether your hunger is satisfied now. He will understand. By eating good food, he is getting nourished, his hunger is satisfied, and he is becoming energetic. So, similarly, we are in a diseased condition. We are in a hungry, thirsty condition in this material world, looking for all kinds of things. Like if you are very hungry, you're very thirsty, for example, and you're looking for various places for water, and you don't know what is contained in them. You're drinking. Something may have a bitter juice, something may have a sour juice, something may have a sweet juice. And we are tasting all these things, but our thirst is not satisfied. We need pure water. The water has the quenching of thirst property. None of those will have. So this is exactly is happening in this material world where we are thirsty for happiness and we try to take happiness in one thing or the other, but we end up drinking something which is not actually giving us that relief from thirst. And we think that to be happiness. This is called illusion. The camel, it keeps chewing these thorny bushes, cactus, and the thorns are pricking its tongue and it's producing blood. But the camel likes those. In fact, one video somebody showed, somebody gave an orange to the camel. The camel put it inside, immediately threw it out. It started to chew this cactus. The fact is that cactus is deadly, meaning it is so abrasive. But the camel likes because it is tasting its own blood and in illusion thinking that that is happiness. So likewise, all we are tasting is our own hard work. And in illusion, we are thinking that to be happiness. Whereas we need that pure water to quench our thirst. And that is Krishna consciousness. So we don't need any certificate. Just like a hungry man doesn't need certificate. Bhakti pareshanubhavo viraktiranyatra syat chaihatrika ekakalaha prapadyamanasya yadhasnatah syuhu tushtihi pushtihi kshudapayonughasam. The sign that we are improving in bhakti, bhakti hi para isha anubhavaha. We experience the higher reality. Para isha means Supreme Lord. Anubhava, we associate with the Supreme Lord. As a result, viraktir anyatra syat. We develop detachment from anything else, mundane. So if we are developing detachment for material things, that's a sign that we are progressing spiritually. And also developing attachment for spiritual things, eagerness to hear, eagerness to chant, eagerness to render service for Krishna. This is a sign. And the most important indication of our spiritual health is chanting. Of course, it is also important duty as well. There are other assigned duties the spiritual master gives, and all of these have to be done in balance. And if we are in doubt, we should consult and associate with other Vaishnavas, senior Vaishnavas. So Krishna reciprocates through them and the path eventually gets clarified. And we should always be confident as long as I'm sincerely trying to follow the spiritual master's instructions and associating with those who are sincerely trying to follow the spiritual master's instructions. Even though apparently we may be in troubled waters, but we should be faithful in Krishna's protection. Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. And we have to be patient and tolerant in adverse situations. And then here Prabhupada mentions in the purport that a devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. A devotee wants to offer his respectful, worshipful feelings. Thus, he wants to see the two handed or four handed Krishna form so he can reciprocate in loving service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, our movement, Srila Prabhupada started, even though primarily ours is a Sankirtan movement, chanting and propagating the congregational chanting. But Prabhupada was also installing the deities. He was installing the deity worship, setting standards for deity worship. And he was teaching his devotees how it is not idol worship. The deity is not an idol. The deity is Krishna himself. So one has to be very careful. Oh, here is Krishna. I have to serve him. I have to dress him. Oh, here is Radharani. She's here. I have to serve them. I have to decorate them to the best capacity. But if we think it is like a brass made doll or idol, then Krishna will reciprocate with you accordingly. He will remain immobile, brass made idol to you forever without any reciprocation. But if you elevate yourself to a higher platform of Krishna consciousness, then Krishna will talk to you. Krishna will direct you. You make Krishna the center of your temple, your center. Krishna will direct. And Prabhupada also encouraged the devotees should take anxiety for serving the deity. How nicely the deity should be served, how we should take troubles to make sure that the deity should be served. And whenever Prabhupada saw a disciple eager to take on more of the anxiety for preaching Krishna consciousness, he would assign the devotee greater responsibility. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had stated, the trouble that I encounter in your devotional service, I will consider the greatest happiness. See, the trouble that I encounter in performing service to Krishna Even if I have to take the trouble, if it is giving Krishna happiness, I will consider that to be my greatest happiness. So the gopis, they did that. Like one time, Krishna was having headache, and he said, somebody who can bring me the dust of my devotees' feet and smear it on my head, then my headache will be gone. And Narada Muni, he was thinking, who can give the dust of their lotus feet, the dust of their feet to Krishna, put it on his head? And nobody was willing to give. And when he went to the gopis and said, this is the situation. Oh, Krishna is having headache. Oh, he wants the dust of our feet. Oh, here you take. Oh, Narada Muni said, oh, you're not scared? You're giving your foot dust to keep it on Krishna? Said, we don't care what will happen to us. But we cannot tolerate Krishna's pain. Let Krishna's headache be relieved first. We don't care what will happen to us. If this is what it takes to satisfy Krishna. So, this is the mood of the gopis. Take all the trouble to serve Krishna. Of course, Krishna does not give trouble to everyone, but only this is reserved for special devotees, just to show the highest happiness of Krishna consciousness is to serve Krishna, even if it means trouble for us. And actually, that is happiness. The gopis were not in distress, even if apparently they were sent out of their houses. They were barred from association of their family members. But then they were happy. They were facing that, they were feeling that ecstasy of serving Krishna. So, this is the happiness of Krishna consciousness. So, the Krishna will reciprocate based on our service. And Prabhupada says that service, that reciprocation happens properly with a two-armed form of Krishna and four-armed Narayana form, not with a universal form. That is why the devotee is not much interested about the universal form. He wants to serve the two-handed form. Regarding the reciprocation of the deities, there is one deity of Krishna, Ranachorji, in Gujarat. Ranachor means one who has fled from the battle, who has run away from the battle. Krishna famously ran away from the battle. Actually, he wanted to prevent needless killing of so many times. Jarasanda's army, he defeated 17 times. So Jarasandha came again to attack. And this time, apparently, Krishna ran away. He didn't want to again kill so many people when only Jarasandha needed to be killed. And at the same time, he had to attend to his pastime of kidnapping Rukmini. And about 300 years ago, there was a devotee named Budhana. Every year, he used to go to Dwaraka to see Lord Dwarakadisha. If you go to Dwaraka, you can go to the Lord Dwarakadisha temple. And when he was unable to visit Dwaraka in his old age, Lord Dwarakadisha instructed him to get a bullock cart. And the Lord then boarded the bullock cart and accompanied Budhana all the way to Dakur, where he is still worshipped. So uh, this Budhana is a great devotee of Lord Krishna. In his previous birth, he is supposed to have lived in Gokul, And on the holy celebration, all the cowherds, this cowherd boy was called Vijayanand. Except him, everybody worshipped Krishna. His wife also worshipped Krishna, but this Vijayanand was proud and stayed at home. And Lord Krishna came to his house in the disguise of his friend and sent him to perform holy puja. And coming back, he realized that his friend was none other than Krishna himself. And then there was this holy, color throwing and all that. And Krishna and Vijayanand was playing. And then Krishna revealed his true self. And then Vijayanand, he begged forgiveness. And then Krishna took pity on him and solaced him with a boon that he would be born again in Gujarat in Kali Yuga after, you know, so many 4,200 years as Vijayanand Bodhana. And again, his wife would again be called as Gangabai. Again, he will give them the darshan. So, as the legend would have it, this Bodhana, Vijayanand Bodhana, a Rajput of Dakur, he became a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna. And he used to let Tulsi grow in the earthen pot with him. And he used to go every 6 months to Dwaraka to worship Lord Krishna with the Tulsi leaves. He did that continuously and unfailingly until he was 72 years old. And he found difficulty after that. And then Krishna told him that he should bring him back on a bullock cart and he would accompany him to Dakur as he was pleased with his devotion. So Bodhana went with bullock cart to Dwaraka, and the priests had asked him why he had brought a cart, and he replied, "Oh, he wanted to take away Krishna." And they did not believe him, but they basically locked the temple and they left for the night. But at night, Krishna broke open all the doors. He awoke this Bodhana and told him to take him to Dakur. And shortly afterwards, Krishna called upon Bodhana to rest in the bullock cart and drove the cart himself till he reached the vicinity of Dakur. So it's a big story, and you can see how Krishna reciprocates, the deity reciprocates. And of course, after that, a lot of strife happens. All these people, they try to attack him and all that. And eventually, he dies, Bodhana dies. And they were requesting Krishna to come back and all that. Anyway, so you can see how Krishna, he reciprocates with his devotees' love. And many such incidents have happened in the history. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we know how Kshirachora Gopinath, he stole that Kshira, that sweet rice to give to Madhavendra Puri. Sakshi Gopal, he walks all the way from Vrindavan to Orissa to give witness to an incident that had happened. So you see how Krishna reciprocates with the devotee's pure love. I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments?
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hello, can you hear me?
You have a question?
Yes. So, Prabhu, you said that about the deity worship with Braj deity, who is reciprocate and everything. So, that reciprocation and what we are living now, is that because of our previous spiritual benefit and what we do now will be reflected in the next life, or things will be set right in this life itself?
No, it's just next life. Of course, it might happen, but in this life itself, Krishna will reciprocate. Like the Kshirachora Gopinath pastime, Krishna steals that pot of sweet rice to give it to Madhavendra Puri. He comes in the dream of the pujari to say, "Oh, please go and find Madhavendra Puri and give him the sweet rice. He wanted to taste it." So, might happen in this life itself.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Thank you, bro. Great.
Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.